Hey guys, Eric's UK here again today. When I got up this morning, there was a post from Tetsubo, a 20 questions RPG meme. I quite like doing things like this, so I thought I would post mine up as well. All mine will apply to Pathfinder, because that's my game of choice these days. So here we go. Number 1, ability score generation method. I happen to like the 4d6, drop the lowest 6 times, put them where you want. It allows players to create the characters they want without them being too powerful or ending up with stats in the wrong sort of place. I don't like point buy systems because they just tend to create cookie cutter characters that are all the same. Once you've got, once you know the points you want to spend to create a character, you can do it. So I prefer 46, drop the lowest. Question 2. How are death and dying handled? Well, I do that by the Pathfinder rulebook. So once you're into negatives, you are unconscious and bleeding. Once you reach a negative of your constitution score, you're dead. Simples. 3. What about raising the dead? It does exist in my games. It's extremely rare because there are not an awful lot of high level characters running around. If the characters can find a way to do it, then fine, but it's not something they should expect to be able to find every time. 4. How are replacement PCs handled? Generally, I try and find a way to fit a new character in, but there are obviously going to be times when it's very difficult to do, such as when at the bottom of a dungeon or out in the middle of nowhere. I will try to find a way to get a new character in a suitable manner, and work with the PCs to do it. With the players rather, but often it tends to happen once the party go back to their local town, tavern, whatever. Then I try and introduce a new character. Generally, my players are quite good because if they're down a character, they generally start asking around, trying to find fellow adventurers that are in the area. So, question 5: initiative, individual, group, or something else. Where players are concerned, their characters roll individual initiative. Unique special bad guys have their own initiative, otherwise it's groups, so it's ghouls, orcs, whatever, will go on the same initiative. Question 6, are there critical hits and fumbles? How do they work? We use a critical hit system based on the Pathfinder book, so if you get your critical, you confirm, and as it goes. I didn't used to do critical hits like that. Under 3.5, I used to just do, if you got a critical, you got a critical. You only needed to confirm when it was something that was larger than you in size category. But since Pathfinder has feats built around the crit confirmations and so on, I've had to put it back in. As for fumbles, I don't like using them. Because as Tetsubo says, basically once you get a character, especially a fighter, that has multiple attacks at high level, it's got a greater chance of scoring a fumble. However, my players do like that sort of thing, so basically what I do for fumbles, if you roll a natural 1, there is a chance that you will strike one of your allies, and it's a D100 roll, 10% or less than you do, otherwise it's a miss. Question 7, do I get any benefits for wearing a helmet? The only game I've ever known where you did, I think, was probably Rollmaster or RuneQuest. Otherwise, no. It's built into your armour class, basically. So, unless something comes up relevant during a session, I would say no. Question 8: can I hurt my friends when I find to melee or do something similarly silly? Well, as with my answer to question 6, yes, you can, but it is rare. Firing into melee, especially, I think you will end up having a good chance of striking one of your friends. But question 9: will we need to run from some encounters? Will we be able to kill everything? No, you need to actually think. Low level stuff, yeah, probably you can wade into the goblins or whatever, but as the time goes by and levels progress, you are going to find encounters where you're not going to be having a good time trying to beat them. You may need to run away and come back another day. Not everything is level dependent. Question 10: level draining monsters, yes or no? Level draining, no. Ability draining, yes. I happen to quite like this sort of thing. I know it kind of bugs players to an extent, but I think it makes some monsters a little bit more frightening, and players will be a little bit more wary of fighting with them. Question 11. Are there going to be cases where failed save results in PC death? See, this is a difficult one. I don't have a problem as a GM or as a player with that sort of thing, providing that you've got an idea that this is going to be the case. In fact, I can't think of any spells anymore in the Pathfinder rules that have a save or die effect. I think it's generally lots of damage rather than instant kill. I probably wouldn't throw a lot of stuff like this in. In fact, I can't think of the last time I did a save or die. It was probably under 3.0, so well before 3.5 of Pathfinder. Question 12. How strictly are encumbrance resources tracked? If we're talking about resources like arrows, then yes, you keep track of them, but I'm quite nice in that I say you can recover half of what you've used. Otherwise, they've hit a wall and damage, smashed, or you've lost it in the forest somewhere. As for encumbrance, I generally don't bother. To be fair, it's a load of paperwork that isn't necessary, providing you've got players aren't going to take the piss with it. If you think about, my character has a strength of 16, I can reasonably consider that I can wear my armour, carry my backpack, my shield, my sword, and a few other bits and bobs. That's fine. The only times I think you need to be aware of it is when characters are trying to haul treasure out of dungeons. I mean, bags of money weigh lots. Gold statues and other art objects are going to be encumbersome, so you have to take them into account, but I wouldn't worry too much on the encumbrance points, as it were. Question 13. What's required when my PC gains a level? Training? Do I get new spells automatically? Can it happen in the middle of adventure, or do I have to wait for downtime? The way I do it, because there's no need in Pathfinder anymore to keep track of XP, because players never lose it. It's not like they have to spend any to make magic items. They don't lose levels anymore. High level spells don't require XP expenditure. So basically, the way I do it now is that you'll level when I feel it appropriate, which is normally every 4, maybe 5 sessions. Although that will depend on the nature of the scenarios being played. But generally, I don't like characters to level up in the middle of a scenario. I like it to be at the end of a scenario when they have time, 2 or 3 days at least, just sit down, learn new spells, practice, and so on. Otherwise, leveling is just a game mechanic. Question 14. What do I get experience points for? In my game, you get experience points A for defeating encounters, whether that's fighting a monster, luring it into a trap and getting rid of it that way, or overcoming traps, role-playing your way through difficult situations. If I find that I feel that my players have role-played even half well, I will give them role-play XP at the end of the session, effectively. Generally, I think anything should be rewarded, but since, as I said under the last question, I tend to do it at a certain point, it's kind of irrelevant at the moment. Question 15. How are traps located? Description, dice rolling, and combination. I'm going to be honest, I just do dice rolls. The player tells me that they're searching the door or the floor, or they're doing it as they go down the corridor, and I'll go, right, yep, fine, and then based on what they roll is what I tell them, and then they react off of that. I do like the idea of the players, as Tetsubo says, basically explaining that they're checking the 10-foot pole or some such, but I find, considering if you're doing dungeons or large areas like that, it would take you forever as players describe what they're doing. So I just prefer to do it as a dice roll and then role play the bits afterwards. Question 16. Are retainers encouraged, and how does morale work? My players do on occasion hire retainers. They generally hire a couple of warriors or fighters to come with them. And in the last campaign I ran, which was the Rapanathak Dungeon of Graves dungeon, they actually rescued a pair of adventurers who'd been stoned by basilisks, I think, and basically said that you guys come with us, help us out for a bit, and when we go back up top we'll give you some of the treasure and on your way. So they've taken things like that. They generally don't do it very often unless they really feel that they need to, but I don't encourage or discourage it. Morale, I basically decide it. Players can do what they want. If they feel they want to run away, they run away. If they feel they want to stay, they'll stay. Monsters and NPCs, I will decide based on the current situation. Question 17. How do I identify magic items? Well, by the rules. Detect magic and a spellcraft check. Identify giving you a bonus. Simple as. Or, although my worlds are fairly, I won't say magic light, there are low-level casters that for the cost of the ingredients, whatever, will identify an item for you. 18. Can I buy magic items? I'll come now. How about just potions? Okay, in my worlds, potions, scrolls, and wands are easily, quite readily available. Spellcasters make things like that. Anything else is rare. Generally because, on one hand, I like my worlds to be less fantastical. I don't like everyone and their mum walking around with magic weapons and armour. I also tend to think that spellcasters have got better things to do with their time than make magic equipment for adventurers. They might make something for themselves or their religious order or what have you, but magic items generally are, to my mind, are items that were made in the distant past and are found in places like dungeons and ruins and in the hands of evil bad guys and so on. So yes, you can buy the low level stuff like scrolls, potions and wands. Question 19. Can I create magic items? When and how? Yes, you can, but I prefer that you don't. Again, for the whole point of balance. If you want to take the feats and you want to spend the time to do it and you want to spend the money, that's fine. I'm not going to stop you. But I've never been a fan of player characters making items. Right from when I first started D&D, 20 odd years ago, all the way through to now, it just doesn't feel right for me. But question 20. What about splitting the party? Well, that's up to them. Generally, I don't like it because it's easier to kill a party off once you've got you've split your 4 or 5 man adventuring company into 2. It's not good. It's also a bit of a nightmare GM wise, I find, because once you start focusing on one group, 2 or 3 players, the others are sitting there twiddling their thumbs and not doing very much. And I like everybody to be involved where possible. But if they want to split the party, that's up to them. That's my responses. Any question, anything? Let me know. Any other of these like memes floating around? Again, let me know. I love doing these things. Until next time, take care.